The Black Prince of Shadows stalks the earth again. I'm not talking about my guest today, James Alexander. No, sir. I'm talking about a movie that on this day in horror movie history was dropped. It was Scream, Blacula, Scream. And I am here with my man, James Alexander, on Slasher Sports Cinema. James Alexander, my man.
What's good, fam? What's happening? What's good? What's good?
Same old same. I don't think anybody's ever been on this show more times than you have, or at least my shows.
It's always fun, man. It's always a good time.
You've been on every iteration of like my podcast, man. Baseball, movies. You're down for everything, and that's why you are. you belong in the Slasher Sports Hall of Fame if we ever have one.
Yeah, man. I'm good up until you get to like rugby or something. Yeah, I might have to step off, but yeah, man, it's always fun. And you know what? Doing these like the movies, I watch movies I hadn't seen before, so I get to go in fresh. Like, all right, let me see what this is all about. So it's been fun, man. Appreciate it.
That's the name of the game, though. Like the whole point in this is trying to get people to watch movies they hadn't seen before. And today we're bringing a little bit different of a flavor of horror, but horror nonetheless. If you love Dracula, how can you not love Scream, Blacula, Scream? The sequel to the 1972 Bill Crane film starring Bill Marshall. And listen, it's a follow-up. Usually sequels don't do the first justice. The jury's out on whether this one does or not. But this film is ultimately about a man once again trying to control what he doesn't understand, only to find out that you can't withstand the fame, the fury of pure funk nor Blacula. So how bananas is this follow-up to the William Crane directed Blacula?
It's wild because you could like they made put like this. They made some interesting choices. They made some interesting choices all around. Like a couple times I had to be like, really? Like there's a few things that stood out. Like this like the whole for me, like the whole thing about Dracula is right, he's smooth. He's smooth all the way up until he bears the fangs. You know, and that's what you like. The Dracula is he's that suave dude next to you. Next thing you know, boom, he got you. But for some reason, like this version goes through a transformation where he turns into a monster. Like I was like, what are they doing? Because he was smooth when he just his regular self with that African shit. I was like, oh, my man is dropping it. Then he goes through this thing where he gets like extra facial hair. What does that have to do with being a vampire? Like, and then he turns into a monster a little bit. Like they kind of went they hit it too much on the nose. Like he's supposed to be smooth. That way you're shocked. You know, he's next to you kissing your hand. You know, vampires, they kiss your hand, they go up your arm, and next thing you know, teeth in your neck. Like that's vampires, 1-on-1. For some reason, they decided to turn him into something different. To get people to jump. But I guess they missed out on the charm of Dracula. The charm of Dracula is he's just this dude. Seems like a playboy.
Yeah.
He's always wearing some fly silk shit. You know, he's being small, but next thing you know, oh shit, got you. Yeah. So the first thing I was like, why is he turning into like half a werewolf?
That was what I was gonna say. The werewolf man. I think they had more props from like the Wolfman set or something. Maybe they were trying to do a blaxploitation Wolfman, and they just had some leftover sideburns. Said Bill Marshall can rock them. With his...
Yeah, it was somebody said he doesn't look scary enough. But that's the whole thing about Dracula. That's what the fear is. The fear is not that he looks scary. The fear is that he just looks like some suave debonair dude. And next thing you know, he's in your neck. So that's the allure. All the other ones, Wolfman, Frankenstein, yeah, they're supposed to look like a monster.
You're supposed to be drawn in by Dracula.
Yeah.
Drawn in.
Yeah.
Well,
but I was laughing at that. I was like, why is he all rough?
Well, in this one, the vampire Mamuwalde, aka Blacula, is resurrected by voodoo and Forced to Kill Again, and it was directed by Bob Keljan. All right, Bob Keljan was a drive-in exploitation flick kind of guy. So I think they did get the
See,
right
so now
guy.
that makes sense from some of the choices. Then, yeah.
Oh yeah, the choices make a lot of sense. All right, but it was a task to jump into to William Crane's shoes just a year after Blacula was released. I mean, only a year. It's still hot off the presses. And
Right.
after William Marshall helped, he set who Blacula really was in stone. Like if anybody could do it, why not the guy who directed Count Yorga and Flesh of My Flesh and had parts in The Twilight Zone and Alfred Hitchcock Presents? But did Keljan really do Blacula justice with Scream Blacula Scream?
I don't think he did. I don't think he did because I was just aesthetically. That's the whole thing. Aesthetically, I know that it was made in '73, so the technology was what it was. The blood never looked real. The bat sequences were always had me crying, laughing. But I understood that was gonna happen. But just this the whole vibe of it, like he's turning people into vampires, right? But then once they turn, they're doing like a half zombie thing.
They're trying to hit on all points.
Why are they so slow? Like that's not how vampires run up on you. That's basically how they do.
They're behind you before you even know they're there.
Right. None of that slow walking with the and a lot of camera shots on the faces so you can see all this pancake makeup. But then earlier when they're just talking, then those are vampires you want to see do shit. When the guy that turned him, they brought him back, and the girl are talking, he's kind of hating on him. Like that's the guy that should be at the parties. Doing vampire shit. They didn't do vampire shit.
Not a lot of vampire shit was done.
Yeah,
they did monster shit exactly, and they tried to almost fit all the Universal monsters into one blaxploitation flick directed by a white dude. So it's almost to me like he might have been trying to compensate. What did they do? What did they not do in Blacula that we can do in the sequel?
And right. Yeah, he didn't want to be repetitive, but in doing so, he kind of lost the reins of the vampire. Like if you're gonna have a black version of Dracula, then he smooth him up, make him be a player because that's who he was. That's his vibe.
They did that in the cold open. The opening scene with
that's what I'm saying. I was like, okay, all right, yeah.
You got Richard Lawson. Yeah, they got Richard Lawson calling everybody a bitch. And like that's what I come to a blaxploitation flick for. I want that, you can't bleed me kind of attitude out of, literally everybody in the cast, right?
Exactly.
So what they did right was they brought back Bill Marshall. All right. When you compare William Marshall to the great Draculas, Lugosi, Max Schreck, Christopher Lee, I think he ranks up there. Sure as hell kicks the shit out of Jack Palance to me because Jack Palance is the worst Dracula there ever was. But
yeah, because Jack Palance was just Jack Palance playing Dracula. You could see the Jack Palance in him.
Just like Jack Nicholson playing the Joker, in my eyes. A lot of people would probably balk on that opinion. But to me, when Jack Nicholson played the Joker, I saw Jack Nicholson in Joker makeup, and it just couldn't get past it. But Bill Marshall started out as like a regular character actor on about 1 billion TV shows. But the man had a pedigree. He did opera, Broadway, Shakespeare. But like all that formal classic shit gets put on the back burner when you bring up the blaxploitation era of the 70s. And
right. All the acting classes and all the things you've done, you take one look at it, you played Othello at some point. Like he was doing Shakespeare. He was. I'm pretty sure Paul Robeson was like his idol, and then but you go where the money goes. I know enough actors to know. You go where the parts are.
Yeah, nobody goes into a project. Listen, there's no way that Paul Rubens took Pee Wee Herman because he loved the outfit. He did it because it was going to sell to a specific demographic. And
Right. Well,
that's what
no.
blaxploitation was for, you
The
know.
first, yeah. The first, like almost every movie that turns into a franchise, the first one is about the script and about the love of it. But then once the money comes, and that's when, like that's why sequels. That's why everything kind of turns to shit after a while, because it's always money grab. It's different studio heads. It's different directors. It's different scripts. Anytime you hear something about, oh, they rewrote the script 5 times, and you know.
Yeah,
Then you
it
started
turns
out with the
into
trash,
fan
and then you
films.
just made it worse. Yeah.
It turns into fan films. You take what's probably, I would say, if you voted on the greatest slasher film of all time, people are going to go back to Halloween, 78 Halloween. Well, the
Yeah.
first sequel wasn't supposed to happen. It was never written. It wasn't written beforehand. It was the success and became a money grab. So you know, we're going to
Yeah.
call these people siblings, and that's how we're going to explain how all this happened. So
Right. And
it
then
happens.
and but once you, I mean, it's a studio system. All they care about a big opening weekend, and they make their
Big
money
opening
back,
weekend.
and then
This
they just move on to the next project. If something actually catches fire and turns into a phenomenon, it's not because the studio saw it. It's
well,
because
there's a reason.
the people word of mouth got around. But yeah, studios getting away. But let's talk about this. I don't know if you have this on your list. How about the gross misuse of Pam Grier?
Man, Pam
I was
Grier.
when I saw I didn't know she was in it. When I saw she was in it, I was ready for my Pam Grier mode. Like, okay, anybody could have her part. Any actress could have played. There was nothing about that part that needed Pam Grier. They didn't give her shit to do.
They didn't give her shit to do.
Anybody could
And
have a fake voodoo ceremony. Any actress, worth her salt could have done it. Pam Grier, she didn't get sexy one time. She didn't talk no shit. You know what I mean? She didn't throw on no. She didn't do like a 5 outfit flip up. What Pam Grier does. So I'm pretty sure even for her, they were like, she's like, I don't want to do this, and well, here's how much we're gonna pay you, and she's like, okay, I'll be a voodoo priestess. That's fine.
well, you know,
Yeah.
there's no way in hell that, even vampire or not, that the first thing you want to suck on is her neck. All right, I ain't buying it.
Yeah,
This this
that's what I'm
this is
saying.
basically a G-rated flick with the word bitch in it,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah,
And Pam Grier deserved. Alexander, has there ever been a hammer quite like Pam Grier? First of all,
that's what I'm
okay,
saying. Like
never.
she was one of the first. Like everybody talks about the Raquel Welch's, which I get
Sure,
that, but
sure.
Pam Grier in her full Pam Grier mode, hard to top.
Man, I was
Hard
born
to top.
'82. I was born
Yeah.
in '82. So my first glimpse of Pam Grier was in a Steven Seagal flick. And I don't even know which one it was. Like, all his movie titles sound the same. Like, Above the Rim, Behind the Back,
Above the
Under
law. I think it's
Siege.
above the law. I think
Yeah,
it's above the
yeah.
law.
Yeah,
Yeah.
actually, I think Under Siege was a real one. But I mean, he's really the king of Aikido and prepositions. All right, let's just put it like that. So,
Yeah.
like, put it in terms that I can understand. Who would be the white version of Pam Grier in terms of impact on the culture? Dolly Parton?
No, because you know what? Dolly Parton, like her talent, like if you didn't know, like she had the music. Like people that don't like country music know her songs. And it's not because she was big chested. That didn't hurt. But no,
It
she
didn't
she
hurt.
she was a songwriter. She was a songwriter. She was a performer. And then she started getting into movies and stuff, and she got a little bit more known. But now the Pam Grier, like I said, like like Raquel Welch was up there. She was
Yeah,
bad. She was bad. She was bad. I
bad
didn't
as
know
bone.
about her too much until I saw the movie she did with Jim Brown that caused such an uproar because that was the first like interracial love scene, and I was like okay, she was a hammer. She was a hammer. So from that era, if you're gonna go 60s, 70s, then Pam Grier's on the list, Raquel Welch is on the list,
Let me just
and if I
say,
had time to think about it,
well, that's the whole
like
point. I didn't want to give you time to think about it. But I want to
yeah,
know from the heart.
and
I want to know
Margaret
from the heart.
Margaret had some features that they were not horrible to look at.
Okay, okay.
Uh,
Um, would you
but
show any
yeah.
love to Bernadette Peters? Because that's my
Well, I know
go-to.
that's you. That's you. I know you talking about it. No, Bernadette Peters. she's sneaky fine. Like you don't catch it right away. You know, it's like that coworker you got who you don't like. You see her, but then one day, out of the blue, she just comes in. I don't know what it is, the blouse or whatever, and it just hits you like, wait a minute, sitting next
Yeah,
to a baddie,
you
sitting next
see her at
to
the
a
water
bad.
cooler. She got that thing
Yeah,
kicked out of gear. Just
yeah,
sitting
yeah.
there
Then there's
idle.
like something catches you, like, oh, wait a minute, like and then she's already established that she's cool people, so those be the ones that get you the most. Like you already, because you weren't even being misogynistic. You were just being a nice guy. Then you realize she was bad. Then you kind of turn into a little bit of a man, But yeah, so she's on that sneaky fine. She's sneaky fine. That's another group for sneaky fine.
I don't even
Ugh.
think I couldn't have said that any better, James. I couldn't have. I couldn't have. I gotta know though, who's this cat who resurrected Blacula and turned the world upside down? We're talking about Richard Lawson. I didn't know too much about him. He's another character actor.
He's a character actor, and I looked up after I saw him, and I was like, oh, I know, dude. And ain't no one of those things where you know him. I looked it up, and I was like the soundtrack of all my TV watching. I looked at it. I mean, he was in all when I was a kid. He was in Kojak, and then he was in Hill Street Blues. Then he was in Law and Order, and then he was in the other Law and Order. And then he was on this TV show. Like his TV catalog is crazy. His movie catalog is substantial. But I was like, oh, this dude's been a working actor from probably that movie through now. I think he was in something last year, and I was like, okay, now
I
he's a
saw that
he's a
over
professional actor.
120. Yeah, over
That's what
120
I'm saying.
roles,
Yeah.
and like that might not seem significant, but we're talking steady work, my man. Steady work as an actor, and like
And between acting gigs, he found a way to snatch up Beyonce's mom.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
when I
that
saw that, because you check everything. It's like he's married. He's like Tina Knowles, and I'm like, what do I know that name? You know how bad somebody is when you know their mama's name. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
That's the first thing that went through my head. I was like, name another. You don't know Rihanna's mama's name.
Mm-mm.
But as soon as I saw that Tina, it wasn't even about the nose. I said Tina. I was like, wait a minute. Yeah.
Without the
So
mama being
so
famous,
right, right. So
just
he's a
regular
legend
mama.
on all levels, and I'm pretty sure like that's the guy, man. If you can get in a room with him and talk to him, because he can tell you about Hollywood. He can tell
If you,
because like if you look at the blaxploitation era, right?
mm-hmm,
Like very few of them got out of that to the point where they had a substantial career after that. Some of them,
sure,
they were like when I watch a good movie from that era, I'll look up somebody and be like, wow, they 1976 was the last movie they were in. I was like,
sure.
but to go 40 years and play the game and to stay, character actors are underappreciated because stars have to stay hot.
Yes, they do.
Stars have to stay, but a good character, somebody who can slide into a role and just continually kill it to where you have a reputation. Like I'm pretty sure casting agents, well, he was probably like, oh, we get Richard Lawson, we're good, we don't have to worry about anything else with him, with that character. That's set. This guy's solid. He's a pro. And
He's gonna
so
write the script.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
He's
like
gonna
this.
write
If
his own
something's
script.
bad, if something's bad, it won't be because of him. And that's
That's a
that's a
great point.
compliment. Like any actor's gonna take roles, but there's some actors where no matter what, it wasn't them. Like you know what, the shit didn't work out. It was a horrible movie, but like you watch Barry.
Very, very.
I'll give you the character James Root, the guy in Office Space with the stapler. That
Yes,
guy.
yes,
He's another
yes.
one. You find me a bad performance from him. It could be the a 1-star movie, but not his scenes.
It ain't because of him. It ain't
Yeah,
because of him.
when you see him in it, like okay, well, for however long this scene is, he gonna do his damn job. But he's another one. Like so, I'm pretty sure that Dawson can tell you, he can tell you stories. because he survived. He survived it and never had to stop being an actor, which I'm pretty sure, by 1984, a lot of blaxploitation actors were probably saying, yeah, I used to act. Yeah, I was in a couple of movies. You look at a movie like Superfly, which is one of my favorites. Like only a couple of actors from that still did anything over the next 10 years.
Yeah, I'm
Which
pretty sure. I am pretty sure that the only one that I remember coming out of Superfly was, well, the main actor was in When a Stranger Calls as one of the police officers, and that wasn't even near a starring role.
Well, how about this
Charlie.
though? He was also in Red Dawn playing the Cuban general. He learned Spanish just so he could play that role. Like
Damn,
he's no joke. Yeah,
that's a trivia bit right there, James.
yeah, yeah. Only
That's a
because
bit of trivia.
Red Dawn was on recently, and I was like, yeah, that's my man. And I have a Superfly poster on my wall. I have a Superfly poster of him when he's at the lounge with his man Eddie, and it's like one of my favorite scenes. So I thought, okay, I'm going to post that at this joint. But yeah,
But you're not wrong though, because you look at the blaxploitation. Actually, you look at exploitation film in general, and to me, slasher films fall under the exploitation. Mass genre, I guess. You don't find a lot of people who aren't like the starlet types. Not very often at all are you going to find like an actor, like a male actor, who elongated his career because of a slasher film. That you can make
that's why
like the Kevin Bacons and such. But
right,
I mean,
Johnny Depp's the GOAT. Johnny Depp's the GOAT. To come from a movie where he got killed, a little bit more than halfway through, and that was just a blip. So yeah, but more often than not, you never see, and which is why sequels get made. Sequels get made because everybody says yes. That's how tough it is. That's how tough acting is. When they want to do something part 4, and your agent calls you, you like yes, whatever it is, and that's why you don't care about the script. You don't care because you know why? Because when you were hot, you bought a house.
Yeah.
And then you got married, then you had kids, and now they're going to private school because you want to be Hollywood. So that's why a lot of bad TV and movies get made, is because everybody from the director to the crew to the actor to the craft, everybody needs the gig. And that's why sometimes you watch it like, how did this get made? Because everybody involved needed a check.
Everybody needed a check, man. And it turns into a fan film eventually. You take a
you hope that it gets some cult status, but you don't know at the time. At the time, all you know is that for another 6 months you don't have to worry because they paid you, whatever the rate was at the time. That was like, you know what? I booked I booked 2 roles for the year. That'll get me through. Like it's tough. It's a tough ass business, man.
It is, and to stay relevant after so long is just ridiculous. But Bill Marshall did that, and you gotta tip your hat, or I guess tip your fangs to him. And he's still one of the GOATs as far as horror and blaxploitation, and he's forever GOATed.
I'll tell you about Blacula Scream. What he did was he did the most that he could with what they gave him.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
I'll give you that.
Like he maxed it out. Like whatever. Like it wasn't gonna get better than what he gave you. Like everything was like the script was lazy, the scenes were lazy, but when the camera was on him, he gave you the best.
All you needed was Bill Marshall and Pam Grier. You have that, and you got a winning recipe, or at least something to start with. So maybe the ceiling's not going to be too high, but the floor is going to be pretty high for what.
Yeah.
It can't go less than just mediocre. It was not a great film. It wasn't great dialogue, but Bill Marshall is as smooth as silk. Pam Grier looks as only as she can look. And in spite of all that, the 1980 book, The Golden Turkey Awards by Harry and Michael Medved, Scream Blacula Scream won the award for worst blaxploitation movie of all time. Now listen, I love Melvin Van Peebles, but Melvin Van Peebles has made some piles of shit in his life.
Hold on, there was a lot of bad ones. There was a run after Shaft and Superfly, like the floodgates were open and people started getting everything made, and it kind of happened again in the 90s. You know, after Spike and then Boys in the Hood, then Above the Rim, like there was a window where we got the whole the 90s era of blaxploitation of hood movies. And when that happens, when there's a run, then there's always going to be some bullshit. And there was a lot of bullshit in the blaxploitation era. That wasn't the worst. I've seen worse. I've seen some blaxploitation movies that I couldn't even watch. I saw Dolomite, which I thought I would never get. I saw Dolomite that was so bad you could tell that everybody on it was on cocaine. Like it was after everybody was comfortable. Cause I was just like I watched 20 minutes. I can't even. So you know how some movies are so bad you just laugh at them. I couldn't even laugh. I couldn't even laugh at it. And I thought Dolomite couldn't miss. Oh, he can. He can.
Have I ever seen a movie so bad that I could laugh at it? Hell yeah. You're talking to a guy who watches a horror movie per night. There ain't enough bangers to fill in the year, you know?
Yeah.
There's not enough. But in like, it's completely unfair, though, to call it the worst blaxploitation film of all time. Because
no. I've seen
two
way
white
worse.
dudes that wrote this book.
Right. Yeah.
Like, come on. There's a reason that you can't fully understand a language if you're not from the country that speaks it. Okay.
Well, you know what?
And you can't fully understand a culture if you're not part of that culture. So I'm gonna just knock off like anything.
It's like, you know what? So let me see their top 10 before I even want to hear about their worst. Like, what do you think of the best? And I'm pretty sure there's some omissions. You know,
there are plenty of omissions, guaranteed.
Yeah.
But listeners, if you need a horror flick tonight, and I know you do, you can watch this one for free on YouTube. Ain't that right, James?
Yes,
and
sir.
The link
yes, sir.
right there in the bio to this episode. So watch, enjoy, and for my main man, James Alexander. James, I wouldn't trade you for anything in the world, my man. I'm Billy Graves, and may you drink the blood of your enemies from the skulls of their children.